Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Human dreadnoughts enter the battlefield, and the Galactic Council freezes in fear. Rising from the shadows, the observation deck of the Celestial Harmony Station offered an unparalleled view of the galaxy's heart. Ambassador Alinga Ray stood with her hands clasped behind her back, staring out at the swirling nebula and distant stars. Behind her in the viewport, she could see the Concordat representatives whispering among themselves. Their many-limbed gestures and clicking mandibles suggested irritation, perhaps even contempt. 10 years. 10 years since humanity had been welcomed into the Galactic Concordat with grand promises and patronizing smiles. 10 years of subtle restrictions, technological guidance, and carefully disguised limitations. And now, finally, proof of what they had suspected all along. Ambassador Ray's thoughts were interrupted by the synthetic voice of Archin Sexural, the mantis-like senior representative of the Concordat. You appear distracted. The Integration Committee has presented a most generous offer for your newest colony applications. Elena turned her face into a practiced mask of diplomatic gratitude. The Earth Confederation is grateful for the Concordat's continued guidance, Arkin. I merely contemplate how best to present these terms to my government. The terms were, as always, a masterpiece of bureaucratic suppression wrapped in benevolent language. The new colonies would receive advanced agricultural assistance, which would make them dependent on Concordat supplies, defensive monitoring, Concordat warships in permanent orbit, and developmental supervision with restrictions on what technologies humans could deploy. Your species has shown remarkable adaptation to galactic protocols, Zex Turl said, his antenna twitching in what Elena had learned was satisfaction, unlike some other unfortunate additions to our community. A hologram flickered to life, showing the Nyx system where the insectoid Vasperi had once maintained their home world. Now it was a protectorate zone, stripped of resources and reduced to a client state after they had dared to develop their own FTL variations without Concordat approval. We are honored by your assessment, Elena replied, swallowing her disgust. 3 hours later, her diplomatic shuttle departed the station. Once they had cleared the security perimeter, Belena's rigid posture collapsed. She rubbed her temples and turned to her aide, Dr. Marcus Chen. Tell me you got it, she said. Marcus nodded, retrieving a quantum data chip from a hidden compartment in his formal attire. The Nexian delegate had come through with complete access to the Concordat's evaluation archives for exactly 30 seconds. The data mining algorithm captured everything. The Nexians, crystalline entities that communicated through light patterns, had been one of the Concordat's more recent integrations. Like humans, they had quickly discovered the reality behind the Concordat's benevolent facade. And Elena pressed, "It's all there," as Marcus said grimly. Operation Cradlefall, the complete disarmament of Earth within 15 years, technological regression protocols, population control measures, resource reassignment. He paused. Humanity is classified as a Category 1 containment priority. Elena closed her eyes. The confirmation of their worst fears brought no satisfaction. Transmit to Phoenix Protocol, Emergency Code Alpha. Marcus hesitated. That's authorization for, I know what it authorizes, Marcus, and God help us all. Admiral Hiroshi Tanaka stood in the vast underground chamber, watching as a construction drone swarmed over the massive vessel taking shape before him. 3 kilometers of sleek, predatory lines and advanced weaponry built in complete secrecy beneath the surface of Mars. He still remembered the day, 8 years ago, when the intelligence reports first suggested the Concordat's true intentions. How President Jiang had gathered Earth's best military minds, scientists, and intelligence officers to create Phoenix Protocol, humanity's insurance policy against extinction. Beautiful, isn't she? Dr. Sophia Winters appeared at his side, her voice filled with pride. As the chief architect of Project Nemesis, she had every right to be proud. The Defiance, Tanaka nodded, first of her class. And her sister Sophia asked, the retribution and sovereignty will be ready within 2 months, the deliverance and justice perhaps 3. Tanaka's eyes never left the ship. 7 more holes are under construction throughout the system. The Concordat suspects nothing. They believe their monitoring systems are infallible, Sophia said. Their arrogance makes our deception possible and the quantum shield generators, Sophia smiled. Fully operational. The Concordat had explicitly barred us from this technology, claiming it was too destabilizing for developing species. In reality, they feared what would happen if their military advantage disappeared. Tanaka finally turned to face her. And the other technologies, the ones they've been so careful to keep from us, reverse-engineered from fragments we've gathered over the years, improved upon in many cases. Sophia's expression turned serious. The Concordat believes technological development follows a predictable linear path. They cannot conceive of a species making intuitive leaps or approaching problems from different angles. An alert chimed on Tanaka's wrist device. Ambassador Rise has confirmed our suspicions. Operation Cradlefall is real. The Concordat plans to disarm and subjugate Earth completely within 15 years. Then we've built these ships just in time, Sophia said quietly. Tanaka's expression hardened. No, we've built them too late for diplomacy, but just in time for survival. Captain Layla Raman piloted her unmarked scout ship through the asteroid field at the edge of the Iranian system. The ship's advanced stealth systems, technology the Concordat believed humans incapable of developing, kept her invisible to the monitoring stations positioned throughout the region. Her mission was delicate: make contact with representatives of the Nexian collective without alerting the Concordat to the meeting. Intelligence suggested the Nexians weren't the only species chafing under Concordat rule, and Phoenix Protocol now sought allies. Contact at bearing 227, her co-pilot announced. Signature matches Nexian light vessel. Maintain stealth. Approach to 1,000 km and hold, Illa ordered, as her ship glided silently through the debris field. Illa studied the Nexian vessel. Unlike the utilitarian designs favored by humans or the ornate, almost organic ships of the Concordat's founding species, Nexian craft resembled crystalline sculptures, their faceted surfaces catching and reflecting starlight. When they reached the designated position, Layla activated the quantum entanglement communicator. Another technology humans have been explicitly forbidden from developing. Nexian vessel, this is Captain Raman of Earth. I come under Phoenix Protocol. For a moment, there was silence. Then the crystal ship pulsed with patterns of light that the ship systems translated into speech. Captain Raman, the collective acknowledges your presence. We have much to discuss and little time. The communication that followed confirmed everything Phoenix Protocol had suspected. The Nexians weren't alone in their disillusionment with the Concordat. The Vasperi, despite their apparent subjugation, maintained a hidden resistance. The aquatic Melians had been secretly developing technology outside Concordat parameters. Even the Thrivey, one of the older Concordat members, had factions questioning the treatment of developing species. The Concordat believes itself invincible, the Nexian representative transmitted. They have maintained their dominance through technological superiority and the careful suppression of emerging species for millennia. Then perhaps it's time someone challenged that dominance, Leia replied. We have a proposal for you. In the heart of New Washington, D.C., President Jiang reviewed the reports from Phoenix Protocol with a growing sense of urgency. For 8 years, they had built in secret, preparing for a confrontation they hoped would never come. Now, it seemed that confrontation was inevitable. The Vasperi incident was no accident. General Adola Okafor explained, highlighting footage of a Concordat peacekeeping operation that had devastated a Vasperi colony. Our intelligence indicates it was a test run for strategies they plan to employ against Earth if we resist Operation Cradlefall. Jiang's expression remained impassive, but her eyes betrayed her concern. And the coalition, Captain Raman added. 6 species have committed to stand with us. General Okafor confirmed, all have suffered under Concordat rule. All have been developing technologies in secret and all are ready for change. And our fleet, the first 5 Dreadnoughts are complete and crewed. The remaining 7 will be operational within 6 months. Jiang stood and walked to the window overlooking the rebuilt capital. After the climate wars and the Third World War, humanity had nearly destroyed itself. They had clawed their way back from the brink, unified their planet, and reached for the stars, only to find the galaxy already dominated by an alliance that viewed them as dangerous children to be controlled. We didn't fight our way through our own self-destructive tendencies just to become slaves to another power, she said. Finally, the Concordat believed they could crush us into submission through superior technology and numbers. They're about to learn why humans have survived every catastrophe our own planet has thrown at us. She turned back to face the assembled military and political leaders. Initiate Phoenix Protocol full activation. In the observation lounge of the Concordat station, Eternal Vigilance, Arch and Zex Turl reviewed the unusual energy readings detected from the Sol system. For months, unexplained power fluctuations and quantum disturbances had been registered by monitoring stations, but investigation teams had found nothing conclusive. The humans claim these are natural phenomena related to solar activity, his aide reported. And you believe this explanation? Sex Turl's mandibles clicked in irritation. It matches our understanding of human technological capabilities. The aide admitted, their development curve has proceeded exactly as predicted by the integration models. Zex Turl stared at the holographic display of the Sol system. Something feels wrong. The humans have been too compliant, too willing to accept Concordat guidance. Every other species had pushed back in some way, requiring at least minor corrective measures. Perhaps, he mused, we should accelerate the timeline for Operation Cradlefall. As a precautionary measure, his antenna twitched in surprise. The Council has not authorized. The Council has authorized me to ensure the continued security of the Concordat, Zex Turl interrupted. Prepare a special task force. I want a complete assessment of Earth's defensive capabilities within 10 cycles. As his aide hurried away, Zex Turl continued to study the holographic display. The humans are hiding something, and whatever it is, I will find it and crush it before it threatens the Concordat's carefully maintained order. What Zex Turl couldn't know was that his suspicions came too late. Phoenix Protocol was already in motion, and humanity was about to reveal just how dangerous they could be when cornered. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, Admiral Tanaka addressed the crew of the Defiance as final preparations were made. For 8 years, we have built in secret, learned in secret, and planned in secret. Now the time for secrets is coming to an end. The massive Dreadnought hummed with power as its quantum core reached full capacity. Soon, it and its sister ships would emerge from hiding and change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The Concordat believes they know humanity's capabilities, Tanaka continued, but they are about to discover how wrong they are. The unveiling. The Concordat battle cruiser Indomitable will emerge from FTL at the edge of the Sol system, leading a fleet of 30 warships. On the command deck, Fleet Commander Vexron, cousin to Arkin Zexter, surveyed the tactical display with satisfaction. The human poultry defensive fleet, a handful of destroyers and frigates built to Concordat-approved specifications, was already moving to intercept, though they were hopelessly outmatched. Open communications with the Earth Confederation Defense Force, Vexron ordered. His mandibles clicked in anticipation. This inspection would quickly transition into the first phase of Operation Cradlefall once the humans inevitably resisted. Admiral Helena Chen's image appeared on the main view screen. Her expression revealed nothing as she addressed the Concordat commander. Fleet Commander, this is an unscheduled arrival. The Concordat is required to provide notification before sending military forces into member territory. Vexron's antenna twitched in amusement. Admiral Chen, the Concordat has detected concerning energy signatures from your system. As per Integration Protocol 327, we are conducting a mandatory security assessment. No such protocol exists, Chen replied, her expression unchanging. And this assessment requires 30 warships. The scope of our operation is not subject to your approval. Admiral Vexron said dismissively, you will stand down your defensive forces and prepare for boarding and inspection. Chen seemed to consider this for a moment. I'm afraid that won't be possible, Fleet Commander. Perhaps we should discuss this matter further. I invite you to a face-to-face meeting aboard our station, Harmony Point. Vexron's patience was wearing thin. This is not a negotiation. Admiral, stand down your forces. Or, Commander Chen interrupted, her tone suddenly sharp, You'll enact Operation Cradlefall ahead of schedule. Vexron froze, his compound eyes widening slightly. How could you know about? You seem surprised, Chen continued. Did you think we were as blind and ignorant as you believed us to be, that we wouldn't discover your plans for our subjugation? Before Vexron could respond, his tactical officer called out in alarm. Commander, multiple new contacts appearing throughout the system. The tactical display flickered as dozens of new signatures appeared, massive ships emerging from hiding places throughout the asteroid belt, from behind moons and rising from planetary surfaces. Ships unlike anything the Concordat had approved for human use. What is this? Vexron demanded, his mandibles clacking in agitation. Chen's smile was cold. This fleet commander is why you should have left us alone. On the bridge of the Defiance, Admiral Tanaka watched as the massive Dreadnought accelerated toward the Concordat fleet, flanked by its sister ships. After 8 years of preparation, the Phoenix Protocol had been activated, and humanity's true strength was being revealed. The conquered fleet is altering formation, his tactical officer reported. They're moving to engage as expected. Tanaka nodded. They can't retreat without confirming their worst fears that they've completely underestimated us. The view screen showed the approaching Concordat vessels, their ornate designs a stark contrast to the sleek, predatory lines of the human dreadnoughts. For centuries, the founding members of the Concordat had faced no serious military challenges, and their ship designs reflected this complacency, prioritizing aesthetics over pure combat efficiency. They're launching fighter squadrons, the tactical officer announced. Energy weapons charging, defensive systems active. Tanaka ordered calmly, initiate Phase 1. Throughout the human fleet, quantum shield generators, technology explicitly forbidden to developing species, hummed to life. The Concordat's first folly, meant to protect the human fleet before a true battle could begin, splashed harmlessly against these advanced defenses. Phase 2, Tanaka commanded. From the Defiance and its sister ships, swarms of autonomous combat drones, another technology the Concordat had kept from humanity, were deployed, moving to surround the enemy fleet. Sir, incoming transmission from the Concordat flagship, the communications officer reported. Fleet Commander Vexron's image appeared, his compound eyes wide with shock and rage. What is the meaning of this? These technologies are forbidden to your species? Forbidden. Tanaka, replied Vexron coolly, or merely withheld. You underestimated us, Commander, a mistake your Concordat has made with every species it has encountered. This is rebellion, Vexron hissed. The full might of the Concordat will descend upon your world. I think not, Tanaka countered. Your fleet is surrounded, your tactical advantage neutralized, but we have no desire for bloodshed. Stand down your forces, and we can discuss new terms for Earth's relationship with the Concordat. You would dictate terms to us, Vexron's mandibles clacked in disbelief. Look at your tactical display, Commander Tanaka suggested. Then decide if this is a battle you wish to fight. In the great chamber of the Galactic Council on the capital world of Axion Prime, Archin X Turl received the emergency transmission from his cousin with growing horror. The holographic display showed the human dreadnoughts, massive warships that should have been impossible for such a young species to create, surrounding the Concordat fleet. How is this possible? Demanded High Counselor Trath, the serpentine leader of the Concordat's ruling body. Your assessment guaranteed that human technological development was proceeding within acceptable parameters. They deceived us, Zex Turl admitted, his pride wounded. They must have been building in secret since their integration. And the technologies they're displaying, Traff pressed, his scales shimmering with anger, quantum shielding, advanced drone systems. These were explicitly restricted. Before Zex Turl could respond, the chamber's communication system chimed. High Counselor, we're receiving a transmission from multiple sources. The main display activated, splitting to show not just Admiral Tanaka of the human fleet, but representatives from the Nexian Collective, the Vasperi Remnant, the Melian Depths, and even members of the Vervi Inner Circle, all species that had been subjected to the Concordat's integration protocols. Honored Council, Admiral Tanaka began in a tone formal but unyielding. The Earth Confederation wishes to discuss the future of our relationship with the Concordat. You are in no position to make demands, human traitor. This show of force is merely a demonstration of what happens when you underestimate those you oppress, interrupted the Nexian representative, its crystalline form pulsing with patterns of light. Humanity is not alone in its grievances. The Vasperi remember what became of our home world when we developed technologies without your guidance, added their representative, compound eyes gleaming. We stand with Earth, as do the Melians, verbalized their aquatic delegate through a translation device, and significant factions within the Thrivi confirmed their representative to the visible shock of the Council. High Counselor Trath's serpentine form coiled in agitation. This is unprecedented, a coordinated rebellion. Not a rebellion, Tanaka corrected, but a renegotiation. The days of the Concordat dictating terms to developing species are over. We propose a new arrangement, a true partnership of equals. Captain Layla Rahman stood on the observation deck of the Nexian vessel Light of Truth, watching as the combined fleet of formerly suppressed species took up positions around Axion Prime. What had begun as a desperate measure by humanity had evolved into something much greater, a coalition of species united by their desire for true independence and equality. The Council is still deliberating, noted the Nexian captain, its crystalline body refracting light in patterns that conveyed both amusement and satisfaction. But they have never faced such a challenge to their authority. They believed their technological superiority made them invulnerable. Leia, replied one of the representatives, they never considered that their victims might collaborate, sharing knowledge and resources. The quantum communication system chimed, and Admiral Tanaka's image appeared before them. The Council has agreed to our primary demands, he reported. The restrictive integration protocols will be abolished. All member species will have equal access to technological development, and Operation Cradlefall has been officially terminated. And if they renege on these agreements? Leia asked. Tanaka's expression was grim but determined. Then they will face the combined might of our coalition. The Dreadnoughts were just the beginning of what we can achieve together, added another voice. As the transmission ended, Leia returned her gaze to the view of Axion Prime, the heart of the Concordat that had sought to contain and control humanity. Your species moves quickly, observed the Nexian captain. From discovery to space flight to challenging the Concordat in less than a century. Some might call it reckless, we call it survival. Leia, replied Admiral Tanaka, humanity has learned that hesitation often leads to extinction. When faced with existential threats, we adapt or we die. A philosophy the Concordat never anticipated. The Nexian acknowledged, its light patterns shifting to indicate respect. 3 months later, Ambassador Alina Reese stood once again in the observation lounge of a Concordat station, now renamed the Galactic Union Station. This time, however, she was not alone. Representatives from a dozen formerly suppressed species stood with her, watching as the newly formed coalition fleet conducted joint exercises. The Defiance led the maneuvers, its massive form graceful despite its size, while alongside it flew vessels of Nexian, Vasperi, and Melian design, each contributing unique technologies and tactics to the combined force. An impressive display, noted Counselor Thrick, who had replaced Zex Turl as the representative of his species. Your coalition has achieved much in a short time. Necessity is a powerful motivator. Alina, replied the ambassador diplomatically, as is freedom. Some among the founding species still view this new arrangement with concern. Fricks admitted, his antenna twitching nervously. Change is often uncomfortable. Belina acknowledged, but the alternative was conflict on a scale the galaxy hasn't seen in millennia. This way, all benefit from the innovations each species brings to the table. The exercises concluded with a synchronized jump to FTL, a demonstration of the new unified command structure that now protected coalition interests. Your Phoenix protocol, Thrick said quietly, was remarkably thorough. Our analysts are still trying to understand how you concealed such an enormous project from our monitoring systems. Alina smiled slightly. Human ingenuity, Counselor, something your predecessors consistently undervalued. As they spoke, news arrived from the exploration fleet that had departed weeks earlier, the first truly cooperative interspecies expedition in the galaxy's recent history. They had discovered a region of space previously unknown to the Concordat, with potential new civilizations on the verge of achieving space flight. "How will your coalition approach these emerging species?" Fricks asked, genuinely curious. "Will you guide them as we attempted to guide you?" "Guide, yes. Control, no," Helena replied firmly. "We will offer knowledge freely, allow them to develop at their own pace, and welcome them as equals when they're ready. That is the fundamental difference between the old Concordat and our coalition." On the bridge of the Defiance, now the flagship of the coalition's exploration command, Admiral Tanaka prepared for the jump to the newly discovered region. President Jiang's final words before their departure echoed in his mind. "Remember what it felt like to be judged, contained, and underestimated. Never inflict that on another species." "Course laid in," reported Admiral Tanaka's navigator. "The coalition fleet is ready." Tanaka nodded, looking at the view screen where vessels of 6 different species flew in perfect formation alongside human ships. What had begun as a desperate plan for survival had transformed into something far greater, a new vision for galactic civilization based on cooperation rather than control. "Comments jump," he ordered. "Let's see what's out there." As the fleet accelerated to FTL, Tanaka reflected on the journey that had brought humanity to this point. They had overcome their own violent tendencies, unified their world, reached for the stars, faced subjugation, and ultimately forged a new path, not just for themselves, but for countless other species. The conquered had sought to contain humanity, fearing their rapid advancement and adaptability. Instead, they had inadvertently created the catalyst for their own transformation. Phoenix Protocol had begun as humanity's insurance against extinction, but had evolved into the foundation for a more equitable galaxy. As the stars stretched into streaks of light around them, Tanaka allowed himself a moment of pride. Humanity had not merely survived, they had changed the course of galactic history. And whatever lay ahead in the unexplored regions of space, they would face it not alone, but alongside allies who understood the true value of cooperation between equals. The Phoenix had risen, and the galaxy would never be the same.